do believe we are live. So I can say, indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friend. Thank you for joining me again on another day, another opportunity for us to consider so many things. Specifically, at least for today's stream topic, we're going to consider why it is we look at other people and sometimes want to be them, right? Like, is it a dissonance with our own life, with our own choices, with our own beingness, with our own self? Or is it a unsatisfaction with the space we occupy? Or is it wishful thinking? I think it might be wishful thinking more than anything, where we look at another and instead of realizing that they are very much like us, dealing with problems, maybe just period. And yet, creating this experience of like, if I was this person, if only I lived that person's life, then maybe I would be happier, then maybe I would be more fulfilled, then maybe I would be satisfied, right? And unfortunately, I don't think it works that way, right? From this perspective, where over this last week that I actually went out and made some human connections again, there were so many sentiments echoed where people would say to me they wish they could speak the way that I do, right? They wish they could say things with so much confidence, have so much clarity in the way that I communicate, etc., etc. And yet, I can do the exact same thing. Maybe not with articulation, but maybe with a certain state of being where I can look at other people's experience and think, since this person is having this experience, surely that must communicate something about them, right? Surely they must be more successful. Surely they must be happier. Surely they must have something figured out. And the more I kind of consider this problem, in the masculine perspective, the more I realize that none of us are free from these perceived problems that we all have. And every single one of us, in one way or another, keep creating some sort of goalpost, some sort of polarity is the good word for me, right? Where you occupy a certain space, you occupy a certain state of being, and then looking at another person occupying a different space, occupying a different state of being, you can create this polarity, this magnetism, this drawing towards their experience, somehow believing that theirs is going to be more worthy than yours. But it's not, right? Like literally, any person. For me, it's Marcus Aurelius, right? Like a part of me either believes that I was Marcus Aurelius in a previous life, or I would like to be Marcus Aurelius again, right? And yet, I feel that way because of the wisdom that I see in his words, his state of being, his way of approaching the world. But if I got to be him, I would probably realize that there are still the same problems, right? That there's nothing there to be had other than this experience that I'm having right now, this experience you're having right now. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's disheartening. No, to me it's inspiring. I shared this sentiment over and over again with the connections that I was making. That if we had to, assume some things, if we had to believe that every single one of us are extensions of God, as in you as an observer, you as the version of self that observes, that version of self is the ultimate beingness, God, right? You're like, what? Are you aware? Can you see things? Can you hear things? Can you feel things? Can you smell things? Can you taste things? Can you claim I am and then your name? Yes? That part of you, I believe, is God, right? So as God, if we had to assign power to it, if we had to assign, the ability to do anything, that version of you as God decided to have this experience, no matter what that experience is, no matter what that experience is. Because as that version of God believed, that would be the most valuable experience you could be having in that moment. And it's a little bit messy because some of us have experiences that we can easily consider ourselves victims to. For instance, maybe you live next to a coastal city and a tsunami washes, your building into mud. And you escaped, but now you don't have a home. All of the stuff that you spent your whole life gathering got completely wrecked. And, that might make you feel like you were a victim to this tsunami, to this, nature event. And yet, from this perspective that I'm trying to share, you as the observer, you as God, wanted to have that experience so that that experience could be had from your perspective, from that perspective, from the perspective of having everything melted away, having your home, having your stuff, all of it melts away. And yet you will have to continue being. You'll realize that there is a state of you that continues being even when everything else goes away. And I feel the thing I'm trying to communicate today to myself and to you, friends, is identifying with that which is unchanged, that which remains, that which continues going, even when everything else melts away, right? Because looking at another person and wanting to be them is, in a way, an externalization, right? You're confusing yourself. That's the way I see it. Like, you're confusing yourself because you already are. You already are that person as them, living their life as consciousness, as awareness. And as that awareness, as that godness, as that all powerful beingness, you decided to be you, to be this version of self. Okay, I'm just gonna run in circles if I keep going with it, but yeah. Shell, it's nice having you. Zano's here too. 7 Shan, sending you lovin's. Hey, Cookies Nancy, it's nice having you as well. Duck Dad, I look at my dog like his butt in the sun. I want to be dog. You are dog, that's the thing. You are, right? I'm watching Pippi and Yudi and Eva as well. Versions of self. I get to love them. I get to appreciate their presence in my world as well. Shan, stuff is going all right. Should be hearing from my assessor within the next 2 weeks. So start the second and final phases of the course. I'm stoked. Thank you for asking. How's Sam stuff? Thank you for asking Shan stuff. I started taking my remedy again, Shan. How about that? So sending you even more lovin's on that. You can shower him with birthday love. Tuners, is it Connor's birthday? We'll see if he'll join us. I don't think I see him in chat just yet. Thank you for letting me know, friends. Sending all of you lovin's for that. Connor, you get your birthday butt to the stream. You have been summoned right now. Where are you at, Connor? Connor is somewhere interfacing with the world right now. How dare he interface with the world and not be in the stream right now? All of us want to shower him with love. Sam stuff is trying to get going again. I'm thinking about my work, but I haven't touched it for some time, struggling with some imposter syndrome there. But we'll get back to it. We always do. The imposter syndrome, right? When you do something and you're like, I'm not supposed, who am I to do this thing? I'm just a silly human being. I don't know what I'm doing. None of us do, Sam. You think I know what I'm doing? I just like to pretend that I know what I'm doing, right? And then I like to pretend that I know what I'm doing to the point where it starts to convince me, and I'm like, yeah, I freaking know what I'm doing. Totally. All I'm doing is showing up for what I know I should be doing, right? So maybe that's the way we can kind of get ourselves beyond the imposter syndrome, that you showing up and writing dispels the imposter syndrome, right? Because you cannot be an imposter to someone who writes when you're sitting down and actually writing, right? If you keep showing up for that, if you keep gaining more evidence that is something that you can do. Hi, Shan, I'm doing okay. I wanted to join the Sangha on Sunday, but I took too much shroomies. I took mushrooms Friday night, I think. How was your experience, Susanna? We sent you some love anyway. We would have liked to have you there regardless, Zano. Yes, we would. There she is. Joy Vive is here as well. It was a very cozy trip, but I didn't want to barf on camera. I feel you. I do. Hey, Lolo. Thank you for joining us. It's nice having you here as well, friend. I'm sure you'll get through it and get back at it, Sam. If you would like to try a remedy to see if it would help at all, you know where to find me. There we go. I do think my emotional state is getting in the way, but I'm still in the let's try to harness this instead of throwing it away phase. Writing when you're in an emotional space, apparently generates more value than not. As in, if you're like really upset, really angry, really tired, really add your emotion here. Writing in that space can really give you a lot of information to write with. Is that Chauvin joining us? Sending you lovin's. I see there's a little hive with a little heart next to it. Shan, when I was on a cruise ship, there was a girl that spoke with me after she saw me doing yoga alone and dancing alone. And the last time I saw her, she said, I want to be just like you. And I told her, you are. Yes. Thank you, Joy V, for echoing that sentiment. That is the whole point of today's stream topic that I'm trying to make. Is looking at another person and wishing to be them is a confusion, right? Because you are. You are. All the things you see, right? Like seeing someone do yoga and dancing, the reason you can understand what's happening and the reason you can identify with what you're seeing so much that you want to be that is because you already are, right? You already are that version of self. You just have to show up for it. You just have to show up for it. You have to practice being yourself. You have to practice taking care of yourself. You have to practice having conversations. You know, I'm pretty socially awkward. I'm very, very much so. So as a result of knowing, right, like a Joy Vive echoed that I might be a little bit of a masochist, putting myself in a social situation with people that I don't know is painful to me, right? It pains me. And yet, I believe it's something that is of utmost importance. It's my responsibility. So instead of creating a narrative that, oh, every single time I go out of my way to talk to people I don't know, I feel flustered, I feel anxious, I feel awkward. So I shouldn't be talking to people because I feel this way, right? Instead, I kind of reestablish my values as in every single time I talk to people, I feel awkward, I feel anxious, I feel, overwhelmed, and yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to keep doing it until I don't feel that way, right? And I've noticed that even though those feelings might not necessarily go away completely, my ability to feel those things and still do them has increased, right? I've gotten stronger. I haven't transcended the difficulty of the situation, but I've gotten strong enough to carry, to interface with the difficulty of the situation. You are it. You are it. Everything you see is in you. I do think Milo's on stage. Shan, Parkway Drive just announced a second North American leg on their tour and finally hit Chicago. I've never seen them. I feel the imposter syndrome. I'm still feeling it, even with the plans coming out of every room. Sam is the Samiest Sam that has ever Sam. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Doug Dead, for echoing so much love. A remedy would help you work through it. I'm like, seriously, Shan, I started taking your remedy again today, and I said it in stream, on the yoga stream even. I feel like today is kind of like the first day in a while where I actually feel like myself again. Not that I haven't been feeling myself, but just when it came to the yoga, the amount of access I had to myself, my own brain, my own body, my own capacity to feel, I was like, yes, something has changed. It's probably because I'm alone again. That also helps. But I would like to believe that the remedies are also adding, frequencies, little flavors. Baby cucumber plants, the duckling and eye plants that are already popping up. Child labor is paying off. Sick, dude. Just have to get more kids now, have like a whole team working for you. I mean, I'm only half joking. I'm joking from a perspective of irony, because there are people who unironically do that. Like straight up have more kids so they have more labor. Been thinking about it. You're such a light. Love is true. Thank you, Sam. Shan, I want to, but I haven't figured out if I can yet. It's my mom's birthday. Should I take a should I take a 70-year-old woman, especially if it's her birthday and she's 70 and she's never had an experience like that? I feel it's even more important to take them out to these things. I shared yesterday. I told my family the story of my whole situation, the whole experience I had over the last week. And I shared with them this feeling, this sentiment of wanting them to have these experiences as well. You know, that I don't consider myself, look at that as a gobbledygoo. I don't consider myself more special than any of them. I believe all of them have access, you know, even a 70-year-old lady, old woman, you know, can still go out to a music festival and have a good time, right? And yet, it's easy for yourself as a 70-year-old woman to see young people having fun and be like, oh, yeah, if only I could have fun like those young people could. If only, oh, it would be so great if I could, you know, just looking at them sitting down, not trying to move your body, not trying to go and dance, not trying to go and have conversations with strange people. All of us are in power. Yo, skip Bobby! Sending you more love, Gabby, too. It's nice to have you here, man. Mm, mm. It's because dwarves can't usually class through it. I'm gonna take that as like a fractal that I don't properly understand. But seeing as how all of those plants are still alive, looks like you're doing everything right. Congrats on your skill tree, bro. Yeah. Growing. Why not, dog? She might have the bestest time. Bring her with ear protection and some pot, and she should be good to go. Yes, I'm happy that you friends are also echoing that sentiment. Sam, I understand the words you use, just not the order you put them in. Same, Doctor. I'm happy I'm not the only one. Probably love it. It was a surrendering over and over again during the trip. I watched 10 plus hours of some guy in Ohio landfill digging up stuff from the 1940s. His YouTube is rocks, costume, and it grounded me. Does he go and dig in landfills? And then as he digs deeper and deeper, he finds like almost like time capsules. Like the trash comes from a certain time. Is that what's happening? That does sound pretty interesting. 10 plus hours though. That is insane. I don't think I've ever watched anything for 10 plus hours. Have I? Is that a lie? Actually, I might have watched. No, it wasn't even 10 plus hours. There's a show called Beef on Netflix right now, kind of showing the fractal of how people get angry at one another, how people get completely worked up, how people feel this sense of dread, right? That there's no end. There's no end to what it is we're doing right now. The way that I kind of articulate that fractal to myself is that we asked for everything. And now we're gonna get it forever. And this quote kind of came from a conversation that me and Christian had. Both of us took 5 grams of mushrooms and locked ourselves in a room essentially. And we were just having conversations in that state of mind. And we were talking about gods, you know, talking about these primordial beings, you know, and us being part of them, us being one of these primordial beings. And then as these primordial beings, we were given the option to ask for things, you know, oh, as this primordial being, what would you like? And this version of self asked for everything. Actually, everything. I was like, what would you like? And we were like, I want everything. And now we're getting it forever. Now we're gonna just get everything every day, all the time, nonstop. And that's a little bit much sometimes, right? And there's no escaping it. There is no escaping it. And it shouldn't be something that we look to escape. It should be something that we should embrace, you know, as a strength, as a, yeah, this is gonna be heavy. You know, this amount of responsibility is always going to weigh on me. And yet, I pride myself in being strong. I pride myself in doing hard things, going out of my way to make a difference, right? That this world is going to be saved by us. Think about that. Nobody is coming to save us. Nobody is coming to save us. We're the saviors. We're the ones that's actually going to show up in this world and try and make a difference. Ah, cafefe. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. There we go. Melt, I feel you, says Duck Dad. I have to go talk with my kiddo's potential new preschool today. And I'm like, how can I fake being a responsible adult long enough? You just keep being wise, dude. Like, I feel like you are wise at least. Uh, the fact that we have to like go for interviews and stuff to get our kids into freaking preschools, it's so wild to me. Knowing you have that experience takes the air out of my social anxiety in a way. I think mine is justified, but you don't. Why should mine be justified? I mean, my social anxieties are justified as much as anyone else's is. You know, I still have an ego, and my persona wants to be seen in a certain way, right? And if I communicate, then it creates the opportunity for my persona to melt away, right? Like, oh, I said something stupid. Now all of these people are gonna think I'm stupid, and my persona doesn't want to be considered stupid, right? So it's very clear why our social anxieties arise like that. But then I remind myself, right? That's where the whole melt more thing came from. That I can have my ego melted, you know, in embarrassment, in psychedelic information, in deep confusion, in dissociation, in feelings of complete, you know, desolation. And yet still there will be more ego to melt on the other side of it. And once I kind of embrace this willingness to melt my ego, to be uncomfortable, to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, the social anxieties kind of went away with it. Because ultimately all of us are just people. None of us are as smart as we would like to believe ourselves to be. And I've been trying to humble myself a little bit more by just calling myself straight up stupid. Even though I know it's not true, it's like an extreme. Like I'm communicating an extreme to try and get to the point that is humbling myself, to realize that I know nothing, you know? And once we kind of like come to that point in ourselves, it becomes a little bit easier to communicate with everyone else because the point isn't to try and uplift yourself, right? The point isn't trying to be something, to be the person you think you are. The point is just to communicate. The point is to be there in that moment. The point is to connect. And even if you connect on a way that is silly, even if you make jokes, even if you embarrass yourself, weirdly enough, that will be endearing, right? Like if you embarrass yourself in front of a group of people, they might think like, oh, this person's kind of cringe. But at the same time, they'll be like, oh, sometimes I'm cringe, you know, sometimes I'm a little bit awkward myself. And remembering that, right? Remembering that we all make mistakes, realizing that you're not less for it, it it takes away some of the pressure. And people forget quickly. People do forget. People are so involved with their own mind stuff that even if you make mistakes, and even if you make a mistake so clear, for example, you know, let me give you like a real idea. This weekend, the festival weekend that had passed, there was one person who was kind, you know, like looked like he was a nice dude, you know. Like I didn't get to know him properly, but nice enough to have a conversation with, to not want to send him away. And then, you know, the festival kept going. He was offered a line of something. He snorted the line of something, and then the line ended up being ketamine when he thought it was cocaine. And those two compounds, at least externally, look the same. It's a white powder that people snort, you know, and I'm not necessarily a snorter myself, but apparently they look the same. And this dude goes for it, believing that he's taking cocaine, and then he ends up taking ketamine, which is a dissociative slash something that can be very psychedelic. And this is now, of course, after he's gone through the process of taking a bunch of other things, you know, throughout the night as well. And then he loses his mind, like by extent, you know, he starts running around, he starts fighting people, he starts pulling the staging, you know, stuff off of the freaking stages. Like like is a little bit rowdy, to say it in so many words. And then he gets subdued. He fights people, has his ass beat, tries to break into tents to find more drugs in that state of mind. Bad, like embarrassing, extremely embarrassing, by all accounts. And then the next day, he's still there at the festival. His face, he has like bruises, he has like scratch marks on his face, and yet he's still there. And people are still talking to him. I talked to him again, told him that I'm happy that he's okay. Told him that, like that I'm proud of him for still being there, for not, running away from this embarrassment. And there's a little bee coming and saying hi. And it showed me, right, that even if you fuck up bad, like I believe, the little bee coming close to me. I believe that he fucked up pretty bad, snorting something from someone that you don't know what you're snorting. That's like not good decision making, right? At least from my perspective. And then as a result of this bad decision making, viscerally embarrasses himself in front of the entire festival, right? Like everybody at the festival knew that some shit went down. And then the next day, he's still there. People still love him. People still talk to him. People still accommodate him. People still want to spend time with him. It's okay. It's okay to embarrass yourself. It's fine. Melt that ego over and over again. You'll see the other side. I feel you, knowing, experience, justified. I have to reschedule your follow up with me, Mel. I had you in my calendar for this past Friday, but I didn't remind you because you were still with your friends and I didn't want you to worry. Thank you for letting me know, Shan. We'll have to reschedule indeed. I am officially back home, only for now. I'm leaving again on Friday. Is Luke here? Sending you love, dude. I'm going to my cousin's another cousin birthday party soon. Feel like I have become one with the chaos at this point. Take responsibility for your response ability. I like that. I like that, Jovan. Oh, Doc, it's so simple. Wear a shirt of a color and wear your phone on your belt. Doc, I know someone who took their mom to see Nofix. She had a good time. Sick. Wow, that speaks to me. Maybe not the concert, but maybe I should share with my mother the joy I find in concerts. Yeah, 100%. Gob says, I got broken up with by someone I was seeing for not making enough time for them. They were kind of cunty. Anyway, so they took the burden of responsibility away from me. I'm sorry to hear that you got broken up with, Gob, right? Even though I'm seeing your ability to take this experience for what it is, still grow from it, doesn't make the experience any easier. Having someone break up with us isn't going to be fun in and of itself. But I honor you love you, for making the most of it. And as you said, like if this person wasn't okay with the version of self that you were trying to be, wasn't loving you for the amount of time you were willing to give, then it wasn't the right person for you. And it's so trippy that you're talking about that exactly, Gob, because that's kind of like the trip I've been going through, where I know that the person I'll get to spend my life with in the future, like I've shared with you friends this weird fractal of, I don't even know if I want to go into that again, but I seriously worry that I won't have enough time to give to the person that I want to spend my life with, because I find myself busy, no matter what I do. I find myself taking on more responsibilities as I continue. And having a partner alongside with all of that responsibility is going to allow them a vector of consideration where they can tell themselves a story of how I don't love them enough and I don't make enough time for them. And as a result of that, I am not worthy of their presence. And as you said as well, like I would rather not have to deal with that burden, to say it in so many ways. I would like to have a partner that would be willing to support me in my journey, to be willing to accept, you know, that there are different modes of consciousnesses for different times, that any time spent together should be valuable instead of there being some sort of little ant. Don't do that, dude. Instead of there being like a loss fractal, right? Oh, you spent 2 hours with me yesterday. Thank you for that. Versus, oh, you didn't spend 22 hours with me yesterday. You only spent the 2 hours with me, right? Like it's where are you applying the value? Are you applying the value to the actual time spent, or are you believing yourself to be at a loss for not time having been spent? My Baba was sick yesterday, says Joy V. He seems better, but it freaked me out. It's my busy season at work, been working insane hours. Have a vet appointment for Baba next week. I hope he feels better soon. Sorry, Joy V. Can't imagine it's easy seeing your little catties not feeling well. But like, Mom, you can be a little on the nose about things you want to be doing, Gab. Maybe she picked up on that and misread it as hostility of some kind. I mean, it happened to me as well at one point, where Gab is like, yeah, you'll be seeing less of me because I value spending my time differently, other places. And I was like, fucking got stabbed in the heart for a second. But fortunately, I healed quickly. And I do not hold grudges because you were me. Cannot grudge against myself. What's the point of that? But I do agree. I can see that fractal as well, Sam. Gabber, I love the way you always see the bright side of things. Digging in landfills, oop, 8 needles. We'll have to take a break. Be right back. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just like I'm just imagining this like comical scene of like seeing you get pricked by a dirty needle in a landfill, and then seeing what just happened, and then like the next cut is like you being like on the ground, or like maybe in a hospital bed and the insta dead. They said I must return to studying. That said, I must return to studying. Schleem schlarm, flippity blip. Love you, gabbity goo. We'll see you again soon. Thank you for spending a moment with us. Joy V, do you have mobile vets? Mine comes to my house. That's pretty cool. Yes, it was wild, says Zano. I was stripping pretty hard. This guy was wearing gloves, but it seemed like he wants to go in barehanded sometimes. He gets so deep into the holes. He digs. They almost collapse on him. I'm sure he's happy, right? I'm sure there's a lot of novelty in that experience. There is a mobile vet I used before from for an outside cat I was taking care of for a while. Thanks for activating that fractal. Now you remember. Hope your kitty feels better. Love is true. Dedication to finding artifacts. He finds like old plastic toys and old glass bottles. But the stuff he's most excited about is marbles. Did you friends collect marbles as kids? I had a moment in my life where I had like a whole bag full of marbles. You would trade marbles with other kids. You would play games where you would like throw a marble and you would have to hit the other person's marble with your marble. And they were like big marbles and they would have more weight and you would like be able to chip them. Oh man. I'm getting so pissed off. There was this experience. Let me share some of my trauma with you friends. Where I was a 8-year-old boy. 9-year-old. And I was still very much into marbles. And I had this massive, like seriously this big speckled egg. We would call them goons. I think we called them goons. Like the big ones we called goons. Speckled egg goon, and it was big. And I was like the talk of the school because I had this freaking sick speckled goon. And then I take it to school and people obviously want it and they want to play me for it and yada yada yada. And then there's this older kid who was like grade 7. So he was like 13 and I was like 8, 9. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I want to play you for this goon." And he gave me like a good offer. Like he like put 4 different goons, up to the stakes for me to kind of like sweeten the deal in order to play with him. But I didn't realize that he had malicious intent. Like he didn't care about his marbles as much as he cared about breaking mine. And then he like went out of his way where he threw his marble as hard as he could against mine, completely shattering a side of it off, creating this like flat side of the rest of the rounded area. And I was like, bruh, the fuck is wrong with you, oh? Like that's like one of my core memories where I started disliking people. I had to do a lot of work to figure out how to like them again. Goodness, it was a rough experience. Some old fractals for you friends to share. No joy vive. Only reason I know they exist is because our vet started one. There we go. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm also learning. I knew that was house doctors were a thing, right? But I didn't know they were ones for vets as well. Goo. If what you gave wasn't enough for them, they still need to work on being enough for themselves. Now we're talking about some wisdom. Yes, exactly, Javad. I have never done K before, but I heard K holes are gnarly. Yeah, I want to try ketamine. I would like to try ketamine, but I don't know if a festival is the right place to, right? Like, it already feels kind of dissociative when you're in that space because you're like, so many different versions of self. All of these versions of self are experiencing the world to some capacity the same way that I am. Who am I? Who am I in this space? Am I in this space? What am I in this space? And then if you add ketamine to that mix, I can't imagine it being an easy experience. And apparently ketamine has like some therapeutic benefits, for like depression and stuff like that as well. That's where most of the research is going right now. Oh, don't do K. Like blow doses are much different than amounts to take. Exactly. Anything that's powder, then it becomes like a dosage nightmare almost. Sure, how you're going to go ape off of one little line. He must have taken much more than that. He didn't just take one line, is the thing. He took a bunch of different things and then he took ketamine, believing it to be cocaine. I think that's probably where the weirdness happened, right? Because apparently cocaine makes you feel like yourself, right? That's why people do cocaine. It gives them a sense of control over not being too fucked up, right? Fortunately, I never get too fucked up to want to take something like that. But I imagine this dude got too fucked up and then wanted to take coke to not feel as fucked up, and then took ketamine, which fucked him up even more. And it was, yeah, it was rough. I am pretty sure it was probably pretty rough for him. Let me see. Well, would you look who's here? It's Mick Murray. So much freaking love. Melt, you read about my black Tamula tomatoes once. Is the only tomato you mentioned by audibly. I was planting one while you said it. Few weeks later, it's the strongest and prettiest tomato in my shack. All of the mental vibes being sent to that plant as well right now. Love Nofix. And I'm a metalhead at heart, jamming most tribal beats these days for breathwork rhythm. I like that. I like your compliment about its sickness. Do you play it a lot of Disturbed Duck? Love is being sent. I've noticed that I've been experiencing emotions more intensely the past 4 to 5 days. Anyone else feeling similarly? Nancy. I am. I am feeling a little bit more intensely, but also at the same time, I consider it like an openness, right? Like a process, a part of my evolution, that being able to feel these things and not be overwhelmed by them allows me a sense of strength. Tomatoes getting down with the sickness. Sam, I have a really good Disturbed story, maybe for the next stream. Love is true. I've said the exact same thing to me yesterday. Excited to hear that one. Nah, always on the edge of tears. Yeah, but you're sure just stress and PMs. Love, love. I experienced heavy emotions over the last year, mostly from heavy medications. It was beautiful. Grateful for all of the tears. I don't exactly know what you mean when you say from heavy medications. Are you talking about like antidepressants that you've been experiencing emotions through, or do you consider plant medicines heavy medications? Shelly saying, Gob, I got broken up with my friends about 2 weeks ago. I have excess healing enzymes to direct your way. Because I came here for comfort, got to healing, and there's tea-colored mycelium enzymes everywhere. I like that, Shell. When we allow ourselves a moment of quiet, we begin to heal. And I feel even though we're talking in these spaces do create like a certain sense of quietness in my heart. Knowing that you friends are there, listening, paying attention to these lessons that we're learning together, knowing that you friends are growing with me through this process, it is going to be quite an experience. Thank you for sending all of your extra healing enzymes. I like that. It is spring. Everywhere is green outside. It is possible that the heart chakra is being affected more than usual this time of year. Probably, if one of my exes described me as cunty on a public platform, I'd feel good to be well rid of them. I think it's probably just a means of expression. Hey, Naren, it's nice seeing you. Right? Like, how do you encapsulate a whole person's vibe? It's impossible, right? But from the perspective of God, that probably might be the perspective most worthy of being shared. Doesn't make it true, doesn't mean it paints the full picture of who or how that person is. But from God's perspective, that is his truth, right? And we can listen to that truth and accept it and love him for it nonetheless. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Now I'm super happy and I can see the love in everything. Appreciate the lessons and the triggers. Yeah. The triggers just open you up to even more information ultimately, especially to your own internal narrative when you experience information in the outside world. And now he wants to not use love. He wants to get deep down in there. He's having a great time. Stop, stop. I can't breathe him out. Good. There seems to be a lot of astrological happenings right now as well, Nancy. New moon and solar eclipse on 420 as well. So in 2 days, like if you have some extra love in the bank, send some to Maxine right now. Gateway process. Here to love it is you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Maxine is getting her operation today, so hold her in your mind. See her walking out, even more happy. There seems to be Rip Speckled Egg. Good. Yeah. Very much Rip. Thank you, Zana. I kept my lucky cat eye marvel. My case manager, says Shelly, when I was in IOP, I don't know what that means, told me, always respect and appreciate your triggers because they tell you what you need. Hey, Google, can you define triggers? Triggers. Huh, this thing is giving me like an actual gun. A database trigger is a procedural code that is automatically executed in response to certain events on a particular table or a view in a database. Technically, all of that information still applies to getting triggered in real life as well, because a database trigger, right, that in a weird way, we're a part of a database, a complete unity, right, that everything is. And that can be seen as a database. A database trigger is a procedural code, as in someone says something, a procedural code, that then in you is automatically executed in response to that certain event or a particular table or a view in a database. And from this perspective that you're sharing, that it shows you what you need, it can also show you what you need to change, right? Especially in the self, of your own mind, of your own process, of your own perspectives. What used to trigger me now triggers contemplation, not reaction. Good. No marbles here. Pogs, baby. Larry sounds wonderful. Luke, love is true. Love, love. Love, 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 love. Sorry, type love, love. Luke, that's my current journey from suppressed memories to trigger, McTrigger, and untrig master. Your sister, Dr. John Crystal, is the leading researcher on ketamine. It's all its form and uses. Check on YouTube, Tim Ferriss. Thank you for the information, Shell. Naren, love to you again. Heavy medications. Ooh, we should all take a moment to send love and calm. Thank you. I don't know if you said that before I did. Even if you did, perfectly so. Thank you for that, Shan. The baby is amazing, apparently sleeping full nights. And the sleepy is getting so milk drunk every day, loving life. That sounds good. Having your baby and it actually enjoying sleep and wanting to sleep throughout the night or wanting to sleep for multiple hours a day probably is a great thing if you're a parent. I've been wearing I've been weaning off the heavy medications for the last 7 years. Been over a month now of not taking them at all, Luke. Talking about PTSD triggers and IOP is intensive outpatient program. Thank you for letting me know, Shell. Yeah, I understand. Post-traumatic stress disorder is something I believe present in all of us. You know, it's a soft language thing. It used to be called shell shock, that you got shocked by something so extremely that it irreversibly changed your nervous system to the point where now in experiencing something tangential, right, adjacent to this experience, it brings up all of that shock back into your central nervous system, causing you to react in a shocked state, right? Anxiety. But we know now that there are ways to get past that as well. That's not a death sentence. That you are not damned forever if you experience PTSD right now. Sending all the love to Sweet Max Beans. Haven't stopped thinking about her all week. Same. Thank you for that, Jovan. It's good to hear. Zano, Amara started sleeping through the night at like 2 weeks old. It was wonderful. That does sound nice. Zano, Mr. Henry being a mature little man. Love it, of course. That name. Jules saying, I've returned from Greece with a refreshed view on life and an ear infection. I also returned from my adventures of a refreshed view on life. My refreshed view on life, Gateway, is strength. Strength and responsibility. That I am strong enough to bear responsibility. That was like my shift. Because I was like tripping myself out about how much responsibility I'm like accepting. I'm like, yeah, give more. Yeah, sure, more responsibility even. Yes, yes. And I was like, oh shit, am I strong enough to bear all of this responsibility? And this experience I had over the last 2 weeks was like, yeah, I am. I actually am strong enough. What's yours? Do let me know. What's your takeaway? What's your refreshed view? With the sweet baby. Yeah, clean, except for cigarettes and bud. Cigarettes are next on my list for weaning. I think that's good, Luke. Just like using the word cigarettes, I breathe deeply, thanking my lungs for their ability to work. Yeah, baby Hank. Gateway, your last artwork in the super neat frame is gorgeous. I don't think I've seen that one just yet. I roll my own now, and I'm keeping them peeners. Keeping them peeners now. I don't know what that means. Keeping them peeners? That sounds lewd. I don't think it's supposed to be. I'm happy to hear you're keeping them peeners. What the fuck, dude? Oh, that sounds kind of hilarious, Luke. I'm guessing you're rolling your own cigarettes. That's already a step in the right direction, because then it's not like a tiny, skinny. Oh, oh, you're okay. A peener is a small little skinny cigarette. So he's rolling his own, and on top of rolling his own, he's rolling them skinny so that he's not overdoing the nicotine a little bit, I guess. Can you share what the surgery is for? I'm putting Healing Mind to Maxine. I believe, and this is, from what we've been told, that there was a scan done and they found something in her fallopian tubes. I believe that's the extent of the knowledge I have. And she's going to go under for them to remove the thing they found on their sensors. Thank you for asking, Shell. I think she's having a mass removed from her uterus. There we go. Thank you, Shan. I appreciate you telling us as well. Gateway, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the refreshed view. I'm trying to refresh my view as well. Hank, did I get the name wrong? Yeah, it's Henry, I believe. Tripping out in the details. It's one of my fears. Mine too. Mine too. We were talking, I don't know if you were here for it a little bit earlier, but we were talking about the embarrassment, the worried, the feeling of like stress that we're going to embarrass ourselves so irreversibly that people will never see us the same again. And that's not the case. Yeah. Missing, like, and I feel like the details thing is like one of the biggest ones where we feel sometimes that if we miss details, it communicates to the other person that we don't care. When in fact, it's the opposite. Us trying to communicate the details, even if they are faulty, right? In my mind, is an extreme care. And then, because we care so much, we trip ourselves out when we're wrong about it. You can do it, Luke. I used to be a chain smoker, but it was finally able to let them go. I'm happy you did, Joy. Makes me so happy. I'm working on it. Hank is short form. Henry, Hank, I guess. My trip really made me reevaluate life in the US. How about that? You thinking about moving? Is there a space in Greece for you that you would rather be? I feel like it's one of those things where, and this is not my personal bias, of course, Jules, but when we go somewhere else, you know, when we remove ourselves from the pattern of existence that we've kind of occupied, our minds feel a little bit more free. Like, I believe there's a lot of value in novelty, you know, in and of itself. So even if you live somewhere, allow yourself to do things differently, to do different things where it is you live, because that doing different things is good for you. It creates this experience of exploration, of freedom. And unfortunately, when we travel, we feel that freedom, we feel that exploration, we feel that novelty, and it convinces us that there is something to be had in that, right? Or it convinces us that the place within which we are is providing that experience. Yeah, I agree, dude. Like this Squareful is like, yeah, represent. In other words, no matter where you go, there you are, right? Sure, no matter where you go, the things change as you go where things are differently. But realize that the experience of differences is the thing that's valuable, not necessarily the space that gives you different experiences. You know, because the joke is you might end up moving to Greece and then you live somewhere and then you spend a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, and then you're gonna be like, wait a second, nothing changed. I still have to eat food. I still have to wash my body. I still have to do things, right? Find some sort of purpose, find some sort of way to provide value to society or whatever. And those things don't change. Those things remain. And it's this joke. Today's whole stream topic, Jules, was about wanting to be someone else, right? Like maybe you met someone in Greece, you know, like a person who was beautifully greasing it up, you know, whatever. And you're like, oh man, I really wish I was that person. Look at how much fun they must be having. And they could be looking at you, an American, coming to Greece, having the time of their lives. And they're like, oh, if only I was like Jules, you know, if only I was an American and I could have the finances to travel the world. I wish I met someone. It's okay. I'm talking about like the extreme capitalism. I wish I met someone. I get that as well. But it is everywhere, unfortunately, right now. Like, if you want to escape the extreme capitalism, if anything, Jules, go to a farm like this. You know, that's kind of why I really revel and melt into this space because even though capitalism still reaches me, it's a little bit less prevalent. It's a little bit less clear how capitalisms there is. Is Nan Nancy's leaving? She is. Love you, Nancy. I'll see you again soon, friend. Until next time. I just don't want anyone to doubt my sincerity. I love big, but I can be big dumb too. Yeah. You know, like that's the joke. That is literally the joke, Joy Vive, Joy Vive, Jovan. And I know you probably experience this as well. Like we're probably gonna get brain chips so that we can be more considerate of others. You know, like when we remember something, when we remember their name or the details they share with us, we like literally store it in a space where we can always access it. So when we have a conversation with them again, we have perfect recall so that we can really make this person feel seen and heard. Like, yes, I care about you so much. I have a whole folder where I store all of the things that you're saying to me. Oh goodness. Like that's literally my thing. Like I want to be able to have perfect recall. I want to be able to remember every single thing that I believe is valuable. And one of the things that I find most valuable are people's names. I really like learning people's names and saying them. I mean, like, yes, I know your name. Names at you. Sending love to the side of the world, Nancy. Thank you. Suddenly, I want us to have a group project to do together. This is a group project we're doing together, Shell. What project are you thinking about? Sending you a DM in the Discord. There we go. Right, reach out. Maybe you want to like make a work of art. Mm. Total Recall. Exactly, Zano. I want Total Recall. I totally need that brain chip. It's a joke because it's gonna be this weird thing of like it's gonna be a means for us to connect to our technology at first, and then it's going to become the actual medium of exchange where instead of having to use words to communicate, we'll probably just communicate understanding, right? Like whole sets of information that lead to understanding that we're trying to communicate. For instance, this whole week I had this experience of talking about responsibility, of my values, of the choices I'm making. And then all of this information was leading to me feeling very heavy, almost like dragged down by this amount of responsibility, by the weight of my choices, by the balance I'm supposed to have in this world. And then, as you friends know, it became a physical object. I got a drum. And then this drum, being able to carry it, even though it's heavy, being able to dance with it, even though it's cumbersome, showed me the amount of strength I have to be able to do what's hard, if you will. And then I got to keep the drum, right? So for me, if I try to I just did try to communicate the significance of that whole experience, right? I tried to, and yet there's still loss. I could, instead of using the words I did, I could give to you the significance, the whole mental narrative that I have around responsibility. I've shared this with you friends a great deal of times, but I believe every single one of us, as consciousness embodying physicality, have the responsibility to make it better, right? That there's I would love to believe in a savior that's gonna like come down from the sky and save all of our lives and we're gonna be able to live happily ever after. But I don't. I don't. I believe that you friends have saved me in so many ways. I believe that you friends have shown me that there are reasons to stick around. You friends have shown me that love is true beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I feel all of us need to believe that, right? All of us need to take on that responsibility, right? And I feel that responsibility intrinsically in my beingness, with the things I eat, with the things I do, with the conversations I have. And there's so much like this whole backlog of fractals leading into this experience to be able to communicate these things to you now. And when it comes to the way we'll communicate in the future, I hope, I really do hope, someone's calling me right now. I'm live right now, John. I can't take your call, my dude. I'm sorry. You see, the responsibilities. People want my time, right? And I feel responsible for not being able to give them my time as well. In fact, it hurts me more that I don't have infinity time, multiple different nodes that I can communicate through at the same time. Okay, I'm looping a little bit. That's one of my lingering triggers, is when my serenity is questioned and I'm unable to express it clearly. Yeah, because we know that we are being sincere, right? Like, I feel my sincerity comes from presence, that I won't give you my presence if it's not sincere. I just won't, right? And if you find my presence, that probably means that I am trying to be sincere in that moment. But unfortunately, not everybody interprets it that way, right? Because there's all of these uncommunicated fractals that leads into that. Mm-mm-mm. It's because even the Ferengi are more honorable capitalists than the Americans, Gateway. Yeah. What did I miss? Everyone is moderators now. Yeah. Like I'm making like a joke, a little bit of a joke, where like the day before April Fools, I was like on a chat and I like clicked on one of your friends' names and then it gave me the option to make you moderators. And all of the friends that was in that chat, the friends that show up consecutively day after day, I was like, these friends clearly value this space as much as I do. I'll make them I'll make them mods. And then it was April Fools the next day. and I got April fooled into realizing that the mods are visible in chat. And I was like, oh. And it's again responsibility, right? The friends who have those little tools next to their names now have a responsibility in a weird way that I technically didn't check with them if they actually wanted. One. And then two, not having the freaking spanner next to your name now can trip you out of like, oh, why don't I have the responsibility? Surely I'm responsible. I'm responsible, am I not? Why don't I have spanner next to my name? And then I have the responsibility of having to apply the responsibility. And it's not that you aren't worthy of responsibility. It's not that I don't want to give you the responsibility. It's just that if I take on that responsibility, I'll give all of you responsibility, right? It would just be like blues, all blue in chat, always. New friend joins. Oh wait, I'm new here, blue. Instantly blue. It was an April Fool's joke that stuck. Gateway, yeah. Let's all keep with that one. Thank you for the love. I just know it and let their opinions be theirs. Exactly. I feel that, Mel. Thank you for resonating with me. Sam, you do know I live part time on District 9 on Deck 3 of the Promenade. All of those words, Shell. Like, I feel like straight up, I mean, I understand, Sam, you do know I live. And then the rest of those words just like go over my head rapidly, like Major Kira is my hero. No, that was one I couldn't get into, much to my shame. I get that Kira is badass and that she's been through some stuff in the Cardassian War. And Reen Oberjoins is such a legend. I feel terrible for not being able to make it through the plotting script. People call you. All I get is scam calls. Yeah. People call me Zano. Like, I was like unironically having a little bit of a hard time, like a rough time this weekend, the festival weekend, because I love people. I do, right? But I am actually an introvert. I'm actually technically I'm actually an introvert. And as that introvert, I sometimes need moments of just contemplation and reflection and quiet. And every single time I would sit down, people would surround me, and a conversation needed to be had. I'm like, this is what I need to do. This is my responsibility. This is what I'm here for. And then I would get up from that conversation after like a certain critical point was reached, and I would be somewhere else, and I would sit down, and not a minute would pass, and a person would join me again, and they would want to have a conversation. And I was like fucking myself up. I was like, bruh, my poor introvert was losing its mind, tripping out about the responsibility that it had to provide that kind of energy for people. And unfortunately, I know that I'm strong enough to bear it. This right now, right? That is what it is for me. I'm gonna tune John. You should tune into my streams. Ayo. Your parents really call you Zano. People call you, it gets scam calls. Yeah, my parents don't call me. I think my dad called me like once or twice during that whole experience, but none of the rest of my family called me. Here in the US, we can get a quick payday for reporting robocalls. Really? You actually get paid? That's pretty sick. Gosh, Luke, yes, it triggers, but it triggers super sadness. I just want to be like, but I love you. I really do. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, kind of like on Gobstractal as well, some people won't see that, right? They'll be like, oh, yeah, you love me. Maybe you love me, but because you haven't met all of these conditions as to how I believe you're supposed to love me, I'm not going to believe you. And that doesn't take away from your love. It just takes away from their completeness to receive your love. Guess I'm feeling very YOLO lately. We do only, at least as this version of self, live once. Spanner, we call them wrenches. We call them spanners in South Africa. You're right though. Kind of like creating art. You're gonna let your creation, you've gotta let your creation go to be interpreted however it will be. Yep. And being attached to it being interpreted one way instead of another is only going to cause ourselves suffering. Manpanion, manpanion. Like a companion? I'm a manpanion? Is that what you're saying right now, Joy V? Nobody calls me. My manpanion is the only one that calls me. Oh, there we go. I like that. I get anxiety on the phone. Most people just text me first. I'm also a texting type of person, actually. But I spend too much time doing it. I like, at one point, with this whole stream journey, I was spending a minimum of 2 hours a day just typing messages. And I was like, this feels like a responsibility that I need to do, but I don't have the time. I'm already spending so much of my time doing this. I don't have the time to do more of it. And I know, right? Like that's so I try to think of things as like in the context of scalability, right? Like the yoga can technically be scaled. Like more people can join and get the information out of that. This, right? I would like to believe that it is scalable because more people can join and get this information right now. My flowers and the little poems or creative writing pieces I write with it, scalable because more people can join and experience what there is to experience. But texting, at least for now, since I don't have brain chips in my skull just yet, isn't scalable because I only have these two little meat sticks. And like this is like the fastest I can move them. I can't move them faster than this. Like I'm really trying. I'm really freaking trying to like but no, cannot scale how fast my little finger stickies can move. For now. For now. So I try to reprioritize and I see these spaces as my means to do that, right? The thing that is valuable, the thing that I can give, even though I can't give everything. Same with my boss and client calls. I mentally freak out. Also, the voicemail gives me so much anxiety. I just leave it full. So no one can leave me a message. Yeah, it's like, bro, please. Like I don't think I've ever gone and like listened to a call message. I usually just try to call back or send a message. I'd never imagined you'd call yourself an introvert. That's the joke, Naren. That's today's stream topic, right? Because you might look at me as Melt and be like, oh, if only I was as extroverted as Melt is. Joke's on you. I'm not an extrovert. I like meditating and stuff, just being by myself for extended periods of time during my day. How about that? Checkmate. You're already doing exactly the same thing I'm doing. Shelly Jr. is about to head to school, but he saw my screen and he says, oh, it's Mel. Say hi from me. That's so nice. Hi, little dude. Sending you love. Have a good day at school. Intro, extro just describes how you get your energy. Doesn't mean you don't like people. I love people, Joy V. I fucking love people to death, especially during these time of my lives because I guess a child, other people were enemies. Not enemies necessarily. Other people were vectors of pain. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Other people caused me pain, because I expected them to not cause me pain. I expected them to see the world I do. I expected them to respect me as much as I respect them. I expected them to behave in a certain way. And because as a child I expected these things, I suffered. I suffered because of my own expectations. I suffered because I wanted people to be something other than that which they are. And then as I grew up into my teens, I felt the only thing that I could do is expect people to be horrible, right? And that drove me into atheism. It drove me into a very negative state of mind. It drove me into nihilism, drove me into deep depression, right? Because that's what I was expecting people to be horrible, and I kept finding that expectation to be true. And then I started taking psychedelics Technically, it started with smoking weed so I can sleep properly. I had like rough depression, was taking antidepressants. Those antidepressants fucked with my sleep, gave me night terrors where I would like legit, I was sleeping, yet I would scream so loud that my parents, I would like wake up to my parents standing over my bed. They're like, "Are you all right, dude?" Started smoking weed, could sleep properly. And then weed allowed me to realize that there is a softness to be had. There is a change to be experienced through plant chemicals, through chemistry in general. And then I started exercising, realizing the power of chemical change. That exercise led me to self confidence. That self confidence led me to more curiosity about these experiences. That curiosity led me to trying mushrooms. Trying mushrooms. Like, I remember very viscerally my first proper mushroom experience. I was overwhelmed with this deep sense of gratitude for the simple fact of being alive, where it was like I was stuck in a loop of going over and over and over and over again in my head of, I am so grateful to be alive. I am so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful to be alive. And I've never, up until that moment, felt that way. Like, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. I never felt that I'm actually grateful to be alive. And when I had that experience and I realized that there is access to gratitude for simply being, it changed me. It changed me irreversibly. And it also changed the way that I see others. Because if I have the capacity to just be grateful to be alive, I can extend that capacity, that gratitude for my own aliveness towards another. I can be grateful for you being alive. And when I started seeing people like that, it changed how I approach them. I became grateful for people's presence instead of expecting their presence to be something it's not. And then I learned that people, even if they don't necessarily resonate with the same wisdom that I do, people hold wisdom. People can share things with you that can change you, right? And I started taking great pride in extracting that wisdom from other people, learning, seeing people as teachers. Where was I going with this topic, this story? Time for me. Oh yeah, the introvert extrovert thing. And then that's where it came from, right? Like that introverted version of self that took a bunch of mushrooms and stayed in his room. I locked myself in my room, stayed in my room, and tripped out, grateful to be alive. I came out of that space seeing people differently, right? I could still gain value from being completely by myself, but I realized there was value to be gained by spending time with others as well. That there is just a difference in the energy, not necessarily a lack of one or the other. Started using ChatGPT to write emails. It's super cool. Sick. Yeah, use your tools. Keep the voice box filled. I try to remember the good days before the cell phone, with landlines and knocking on doors without the panic on the other side. Yeah, I don't know if I want to go back there, unfortunately, Luke. We can remember them. I don't know if they're good. I never lived in those days. Think about that. Like, I, unironically, never existed in a world without cell phones. Like, cell phones were rudimentary cell phones were existing, like little, brick cell phones with like keypads. They existed when I was born. And as a 5-year-old, I remember asking my parents for like a Nokia 3310 because I wanted to play Snake on it and I wanted to be able to call them. And then when I was a 13-year-old, my parents bought me my first cell phone, BlackBerry Curve. There was this deal in South Africa for less than $10. Technically, it's like $7, $6 maybe, $6 a month. No, yeah, between $6 and $7 a month. I got a cell phone. I got 100 minutes of call time. I got something called BIS, BlackBerry Internet Service, which was unlimited data on my BlackBerry. It was only like 360 kilobits per second max up and down speed, but I could Google things and I had a QWERTY keyboard and it irreversibly changed the way I interface with information. Probably made me a little bit depressed as well because I could expose myself to information that wasn't necessarily beneficial. But I am who I am because of it. I've never existed in the good old days. I've only existed in these days as a whole, like wanting to be someone else, little fractal. I feel like talking about the good old days is in a weird way, wanting to be a version of self that no longer exists. There is you, there is now. Same with the voicemails, they're full of my mom's because I like her voice. That's so nice. I don't want to hear my boss's voice, exactly. I don't like answering the door either, though, Luke. Someone knocking on my door causes me distress. Me too. Me too. If someone like shows up at my home and knocks on my door, my mind instantly goes to like, no, that's not safe. You stay away. Don't get close to my apartment. Someone knocking my door causing distress. Knock, Luke. I was expected and less feared 20 plus years ago. I remember not answering the door back then too. It's a jolt for sure when my friends just show up, but it's ultimately endearing to me to be there for them and to know they enjoy their time spent here. It is nice. It is something that you have to have some balance with as well at the end of the day. Like my mom, for example, Trevi, and I don't know if it's the same fractal for you, but my mom has like a wohnstel, like a little flat, and people just show up, and they stay there for multiple hours sometimes. And then my mom just has to keep entertaining them and feeding them cookies and coffee. So, in balance. Finding balance. I cut most of my friends off, so just peace around here. I have 2 or 3 solid friends. I feel like that's healthy, Luke. Oh, goodness. My comments just disappeared. They're back. Like having too many friends can make you feel kind of, scatterbrained. It's hard to have like full, meaningful relationships with 50 different people versus 5. Right. And I'm not saying you should be doing one or the other. I'm just trying to make a statement in my own mind. Joe, my boss, is one of the kindest people I've ever met, and it still stresses me out when he calls. Yeah. Phone ringing stresses me out. I feel stress is the one purpose and goal of us having cellies. I mean, the thing for the cell phones for me is the fact that it kind of like no matter where you are, you can be reached, and that causes me some level of stress as well. Definitely catch myself in moments where I hide in the bathroom because I'm just not in the best mentality that day, though. It's okay. And you don't have to be, right? Like we can idolize being versions of ourselves on today's stream topic, that you can look at a version of yourself that you've been and be like, oh, if only I was that version of me right now, then surely things would be differently. But being the version of you that you are is who you're supposed to be in that moment so that you can experience what you experience as it is. Otherwise, you wouldn't. Why would you experience discomfort if there was no value in experiencing discomfort? Where I live, it's usually someone trying to either convert me or sell me something. And on my best day, I'll stand there and mess around with them. But on no occasion will I entertain them. Yeah, if someone's selling me something, I'm usually super kind to people trying to sell me something. Where if someone is like, oh, there's this thing that I want to sell you, I go, oh, dear friend, thank you so much for doing your job. I understand that this is what you need to be doing. This is what you're being paid for. But at this point, I am not buying anything. And usually they take that well. They're like, okay, that's cool. 38. I seem like people only want to call me right after I've puffed on my first J of the day. Why though? Mental frequencies, right? I think it's a mental frequency thing. It's the same thing with when I'm taking psychedelics. When I take psychedelics, suddenly people just start sending me messages. I'm like, do they know? Are they watching me right now? I just gotta suck in the first drag, picked up the phone and go, yo man, regardless of who it is, it helps. I had a BlackBerry in high school and college, but didn't have internet. I feel it was like some sort of deal they provided for us here in South Africa. I don't know how they got to do that, but it really did serve us. Pippi being a little shenanigans machine. Losing their minds a little. That's what I think. You know, that's what I hear when I hear the dogs just starting to bark like that. Looked at myself for the first time properly. Do you just breathe into the line, Luke? It must be cultural. You can't just show up at people's homes here. It's a good way to get shot. But where my mom lives, it's totally normal for people to just stop by and blows my mind. Yeah, same for my mom. Same for Groblersdal. I think it's also like a person kind of thing, you know? Like, you know that some people are more soft to you just showing up and they'll be okay with it. I think it's like there's a bunch of fractals that lead into that actually being able to happen. Feels like in my 26 years of existence, I have shelved enough skins that I don't even remember the previous versions. All I know is I don't want to be any of them now. I am better. You are who you need to be in this moment. Everything, everything you've done in your whole existence in this world leading to this current moment. Realize that this current moment will inform your entire future. Make good choices. Make good choices. Make choices from a perspective of love. Where's my kitties? There's a kitty on the windowsill, Roxy, that I'm seeing. I'm not seeing Shelby right now. Gingy was pretty happy to see me as well. All of the kitties are doing really well. Leaving to go grocery. Shopping. Does anyone like going shopping? I love it. I don't mind it. I feel like it's a good experiment of getting out of your comfort zone, but it's not necessarily something that I'm like, oh, yay, shopping. Usually because I'm doing breath work. Yeah, exactly. Keep doing the breath work, friend. Keep breathing deeply and mindfully. Do you at least make it fun? The color copying that. Day 838. Starting Eva Baby. Oh, starting Eva Baby. Yudi do doody. Pipper popper. I love seeing those doggos. They really are a little pack, you know. I think that's why I'm trying to see it. Jovan, little pack of dudos. Hey, Joe Schmo saying, Meltmore, I just wanted to let you know that Maxine is in surgery this morning. I wanted this community to recognize that and send her some love. Thank you, Joe Schmo, for letting us do that, dear friend. Taking a moment for Maxine again, seeing her emerge from this operation. Happy, free, completely relieved, stress-free. Love is true. Thank you, Joe Schmo. Love, 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 love is being sent. Thank you. Gateway, I only love thrift shopping. Going grocery shopping is getting out of your comfort zone, Melty. How? Because I'm comfortable at home. Sena! Sena is here too. Yay, Sena. So for instance, like when I was living at Christian's, there was options, right? I could either stay home and let Christian go shopping, or I could go with him and then go shopping with him. And that was a change, novelty, an expedition, right, to go on. I really enjoy being stationary, weirdly enough, Joy Vive. The masculine in me still very much values stability, right? Control. Maybe control is a better way to say it. I like control. And when I'm in a space where there's other people, suddenly I have to kind of admit that I'm not in control, right? And that can be uncomfortable. Outside of my comfort zone, I like grocery shopping, get away. I get to ride in the car. Nice. Good morning, Meltmore and beautiful friends. I miss you all so much. Life has been crazy busy. I'm getting ready for work at my new job. Thank you, everybody, for the positive thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Sena, for letting us send positive thoughts and prayers, sending you good vibes. So appreciate and hope everybody is doing well. Love is true. Yay, new job. Got the job, Sena, of course. Of course. I got 2 new jobs. Damn. That's actually crazy. Are you ready for a card? I'm asking myself as well. Are you ready for a card? Are you ready? I don't know if I am. I feel like this card's gonna kick my ass. Let's see. What's the intention gonna be? Card time. Yeah. Send vibes. Which card? Which card will we pull? Luke sending cards. Well, this one. This one. Yeah, I think it's pretty fitting. Card number 2, the phase mandala. I feel like the moon is in this phase right now, isn't it? Like completely blackened out. Because I saw a crescent moon yesterday, day before yesterday. So I feel like it is kind of the end of a phase. Full moon, lack of full moon. Pretty trippy card. There's like flower of life geometry happening in the background. Shanna, sending you lots of hugs. Thank you for that, dear friend. The phase mandala. I pulled it upside down, and the upside down meaning goes into something like you cannot change the phases, but you can accept them or something like that. Realize you may not be able to reverse phases. However, you can move with them. I do feel like a shift in phase has been happening. New moon is in 2 days. There we go. Thank you for letting me know. 2 days? 2 days. Today. Phase, mandala. Cycles and movement as the core meanings. Living in cooperation with movement through cycles is the message of this card. We watch the moon as she rolls around the earth and shows us the phases of her phases. We experience the cycles of nature and the turning of the seasons and the phases of matter as solid, liquid, and gas. It is the transition of our seasons. It's getting cold here. It's getting warm for you, friends. We cycle from childhood to adulthood, to midlife, to elder, with the movement of our humanness, conception, manifestation, completion. Everything moves in cycles and then begins anew. Mindful advancement through phases gives personal symbolic meaning to any event. Look to the underlying energies and movement rather than the actual event. On some level, a physical move, a new job, Sena getting called out as well, or a creative project, a birth, or an expansion in relationship is similar energetically. Each involves your intention to move towards new possibilities and the fruition of your personal dream. Each represents a phase in the cycle of your life experience and spiritual growth. Each moves you towards the evolution of your vision. Honor the progression of movement in your current situation. Skabow. Bow bow. Skabow bow. Love guns. Bow 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 bow. Yeah, new moon on 420, even better. On Natalie's birthday, I'm building a birdhouse with my mom and sissy with the help of Yummy Gummies that day. I'm so pumped. Yummy Gummies. That sounds like a whole vibe. Sending you so much love for that, Joy. No, Joe. Joe Fun. I think that's going to be an amazing time. I feel this card is speaking my truth right now. It was like straight up calling you out, even saying phase transition, movement, spiral upwards, synchronized smiles. I just found 6 of Wands under my bed trying to retrieve my phone. What does 6 of, hey Google, what does 6 of Wands mean? 6 of Wands. 6 of Wands represents victory, fame, and triumph. This card indicates that you have successfully achieved everything that you have ever desired, and because you are getting the recognition which you truly deserve, and because of that, you are getting the recognition you truly deserve. Because of your results, you are being publicly acknowledged and becoming the recipient of fame. Am I famous right now? I'm so famous. Oh, wow. No, but thank you. Like the, so let me backtrack a little bit. This whole experience that I went through, Luke, so I feel like this card is perfect, like straight up perfect. This whole experience I went through kind of echoed to me wealth, right? Like victory or triumph. Not so much fame, but victory and triumph. That I have successfully achieved everything that I have desired. This, being able to do this, being able to have these conversations with your friends, being able to continue doing this, having conversations with your friends, being able to go to different places. That was the whole point of me doing this work, right? That's why I took on this responsibility out of all of the responsibilities I could have taken on. And I was tripping out. I was like straight up messing with my own brain, feeling like I'm unworthy, ungrateful, not responsible enough. And I lack balance in this thing that I have achieved. Because of your results, you are being publicly acknowledged and becoming the recipient of fame. Oh man, fame. The only reason I'll accept fame is impact. You know, where I of course, from a biased perspective, I do believe I have value to provide. And when I see what some people get famous for, right? That we have like multi-billionaires who got famous for sleeping with someone, right? Like I would like to believe I can provide more value than that. So thank you, Luke, for manifesting with me. I see you seeing me, seeing you, seeing me, seeing myself as you, seeing yourself as me, seeing us as the same thing. I love you, friend. Thank you. Sounds so awesome, Joe. Post pics of the birdhouse. Please do. Are you gonna paint it as well? Are you gonna like make it like a decorative thing, or is this gonna be wood? Not to put too fine of a point on it. Make a little birdhouse in your soul. I don't know where that's from, but that sounds nice. 11, 33, 22%, 52 there. Let's see. 56 there, 36 there. I'm not I'm not completely synchronous, at least on my side of the numbers. You were loved and cherished and respected. Thank you for being you. Thank you, friends, for being with me. Right? There is no me being myself if there isn't you being yourself. Everyone spam Tuner's DM of happy birthday. Thank you, Shan. Do reach out. Contunes. I do believe he's in the Discord as well. Send him some lovin's. Joe Bot, I had 40 free at 11:33. Yeah. You friends are living vicariously into the synchronicities for me. You got it, Luke. All of us do. Don't try and be someone else. Like, let me read to you the exact quote that I saved. The exact quote was topics. I went, don't wish for another's life. We all have problems. Yeah. Yeah. We all got problems. All of us. Nobody ain't got any problems. You know, the nature of the problems just change. Thank you, friends, for not adding problems to my life, for being versions of self that actually solve them, for convincing me that love is true. Showmo sings for show. Sings. Hey, Shan is sending all of us loving. Love all of you. Thank you for joining me. It's the end for the day. But it's not over because there will be more again tomorrow. Let me share some of the sunset vibes with you friends before I finish the stream. The bump. Group hug. Huggins you. Hey, yamashamashi. Yeah, look at them reds. Look at them oranges. Let me see if I can hoy a little bit more wide. Sorry for the. Yeah. I'm getting ready for work. I hope everyone has a beautiful day. Have a beautiful day, you beautiful friend, you. Love to each of you. You're a great group of people, and I consider myself so fortunate to share my mornings with you. We feel blessed to have you in this space with us. Thank you, Shell, for sending so much love. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Sun Tzu. Love yourself, know thyself. Goyas, Luke, love you. South African sunsets are beautiful. They really are a vibe. Like it's so bright in this little spot. I don't know why. Like technically it's overexposed a little bit. There we go. There we go. If I point it directly at it, it overexposes. Oh, 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 yeah. Your love is true. Damn you, Sam. What are you doing, silly girl? What are you doing, silly girl? You want to pray? Sending you loves, friends. Thank you for joining me. Happy to spend my mornings with you fine folks, as I am happy to spend it with you. Yeah. This is me. This is you. We are together in this experience, and we get to continue being. Thank you, friends, for being here with me. I'll see you again soon. I only have one hand. I can do a little heart like that. Cheers, everybody.